I just got back from the farm supply store. I got a bunch of bolts here to make that press with, and I got extras. Well, I got about twice what I needed. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And I also got this big bag of all assorted washers, all different kinds of fender washers, lock washers, regular 3/8 washers, 5/16, bunch of them. The reason why I do that, when I go there, I get a whole bunch of extra stuff that I'm not going to use, but it'll be here so that when I do need a piece or two, I got something to pick from without having to drive down to the store. And you think I'm wasting money? All of this stuff, you don't get this at Home Depot and Lowe's. They'll take you to the cleaners. All this stuff was $6.08. They just sell it by the pound. And these are grade 8s over here. These are grade 2 over here. All these washers are grade 2 and all these nuts and bolts are grade 8. That's a pretty good deal. I'm going to cut this hole out, weld this nut inside of it. I don't really want to weld it inside of it, but I couldn't find a bolt that had long enough threads going all the way down the length of it. That was a big enough bolt, the right size. So I'm going to have to weld this nut inside this hole. And I'm going to, I already did it. I took a scratch awl and drew a line around it. So I'll be cutting that out and putting this in there, welding it in. So right now I'm going to, I got that pretty well centered in here, so I'm just going to take an old U-joint cap and use that. This doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a quick job. I'll drill these holes out slightly big in case they're off a little bit, because I'm sure they will be. This is some pretty tough steel. It's good. I think that's where I want it. And indented a little bit. 2 7/16 inches is what we measured. Looks like that's real close to what I got. Might be slightly on the outside by a 64th or so. I don't care about that. I just got to drill this for 3/8 bolts to fit through. 3/8 18 is the thread size. I mean, they're fine thread, whatever they are. I forgot what they are on a 3/8. What are they, 20, 24, I think? I don't remember. Anyway, they're fine thread 3/8. And so that's where they're going to go. So we'll get, we'll drill that out a little bit bigger than 3/8. Got the holes drilled. Now I'm going to cut this hole here with a plasma cutter. There's my hole cut with the plasma. It's a sloppy job because I simply cannot see what I'm doing. I had to trim it out on this side a little bit more. I overcut on this side because I had no idea where the line was, could not see it. That's why I like a torch better, because I can do a torch without, you know, I use sunglasses if I want, but I don't really I can cut with a torch and see my line, but with a plasma, as soon as it fires up, I can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, that's going to work out okay. We'll just weld that in there. I had to turn that welder down. That thing just about blasted holes through it set at 1/4 inch. That pretty much surprised me. I didn't think it would be that hot. I had to turn it down, set it for 3/16, and it was still pretty hot. It was still real hot. You don't see the corners of that nut at all. They're just totally wiped out, and it just filled in that gap that was on this side over here. I haven't turned it over yet. It's still hot. I'm not going to cool it quickly because I got to run a tap through that and clean those threads, and I don't want it too hard when I do that, so I want it to heat up slowly, cool down slowly, and I may even heat it up again with a torch and let it cool down slower to draw some of the temper out of it. Here's the back side of it. Flipped it over, cleaned it up a little bit, and I'm going to go on ahead and run this tap through there before I weld this side of it. I want to make sure I have at least one good side to start my tap through. If I can even get that in there. Doesn't want to start yet. Once I'm sure that the tap is going through all the way on both sides, then I can weld this side up. Then I can start the tap through on the other side, because the side you welded on is going to be the hardest side to get your tap to go through. It's better if you start on the clean side first. Got the thread cleaned out, and got all this cleaned out and ready to put another weld on the other side. So ready to do that. Turn the machine down one more time, even down to 10 gauge, which is pretty light for this, but I think the machine is running just a little bit hotter than what it says. Well, I just went practically blind while I was doing this, and I didn't know where I was, couldn't see. I was just guessing. Not a good thing to do when you're working on threads, and so I kind of went right over my threads right there. Look, I got pinholes. Well, I don't care about the pinholes. It's not going to break. So I'm going to have to take a little Dremel tool with a stone on it and grind a lot of that out of there before I can even get a tap in it, because that weld is a whole lot harder than just plain steel. It's not going to, the tap's not going to cut through that weld. It'd have to be a carbide tip to cut through that. Well, one last plasma cut. I just put this little camera mount that I use underneath the truck and stuff. I just set that up there and used it for a guide. Just rode the plasma torch right alongside that, and if I had pliers I could just pull that off real easy, or wait till it cools, pull it off with my hand. There's the plasma there. It's a Lincoln 625. Supposed to be good up to up to 3/4 of an inch. It's about a $2,200 machine. I got it for half price used from a welding supplier. If you're trying to figure out how this is going to put those caps on, I'll show you. These bolts are the same thread size as the little keeper bolts that keep the cap on there. Of course, as tight as they are, they don't they'll never come out, but they shouldn't be that tight. Anyway, you just screw that in there tight, put as many washers on as you need to. I also got some bolts that are a little bit shorter in case these are too long, and then you just screw this thing down. You may tap on it with a hammer now and then. I don't know if you'll need to, and that will just start pushing that thing in there. You'll start pushing it into that hole that this goes in. So we'll give it a try first chance I get.